This week on Tune In, Syrian refugees and the highway bill. We'll talk about both of those topics right after this.
Hi, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Here's your host, Representative Rick Crawford.
And we are back. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Rick Crawford. Glad you could join me again for another Tune In. Lots to talk about. You know, the Syrian refugee issue has been front and center, particularly in the wake of the Paris attacks. We're going to talk about that and what my ideas are regarding the management of that issue, what we should do. As we know, we have a long history here in the United States of providing a safe haven for folks in need, people that are vulnerable and are refugees. We've done it time and time again. As circumstances and times change, sometimes we see new situations arise that require us to make some difficult decisions. This is one of those times. We've got a couple of tough choices to choose between continuing to allow Syrian refugees that could risk the safety of our own citizens, which we've already allowed some Syrian refugees in the country, or do we prevent their entry for the sake of our own security? That's the approach that I think that we would be better served to consider. I think the idea that we're going to be able to screen folks and have a properly functioning system is probably not likely to work. Leaders from the FBI, the National Counterterrorism Center, and the Department of Homeland Security have said they don't have the necessary on-the-ground intelligence and resources to thoroughly vet these refugees that want to come, not just to Europe, but to the United States. Given the fact that there are reports that one or more of the terrorists in Paris may have snuck in pretending to be a refugee, a vetting system is certainly required, but an actionable one doesn't exist. We don't have one that could, and a couple of reasons for that. I mean, you think about this, where are they fleeing from? They're fleeing from a country that essentially doesn't have a government. And if they did, what government that did exist would have been highly corrupt, and the ability for us to do even a rudimentary background check would be almost impossible. So we have to be diligent. We have to make sure that we're not allowing terrorists to gain entry into the United States. So on Tuesday night, I introduced a bill, H.R. 4033, H.R. 4033. It's called the Refugee Relocation Security Act. This bill would put an immediate moratorium on the relocation of refugees from Syria and Iraq into the United States. Very, very simple bill. Basically, it requires congressional approval to accept refugees from these two countries that are essentially fleeing ISIS-occupied territory. Further, one other part of this bill, this is in response to state and local leaders like Governor Hutchinson, who expressed concerns about the relocation of refugees. The bill would give state governments the authority to decide whether or not to allow refugees in their states. I think that's an appropriate response. It's less than two-page bill, a very simple solution to a complex issue, and we'll be talking about that for days and weeks to come, I'm sure. When we come back, though, I want to give you an update on the highway bill. Switch gears a little bit, and we'll talk about that right after this.
Hey folks, this is Congressman Rick Crawford. Are you planning a trip to Washington anytime soon? Well, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to enjoy your trip. Just Google Representative Rick Crawford and you'll find our website. When you do, click on Serving You at the top of the website and then select Touring DC. The tour request form will come up and it's easy to fill out. If you have any trouble, just contact our office and we're happy to help. We want to make your family's trip to our nation's capital as enjoyable as possible. Thanks so much for visiting our website, and we look forward to seeing you very soon.
And we are back. For those of you who were tuned in the last time, you may remember that my amendment authorizing an exemption for the future I-555 was included in the highway bill. That's good news for us. Right now it's US 63. In a matter of just a few short weeks, it could become officially Interstate 555. That is very, very important for us from an economic development standpoint. And this year, the House has been trying to pass a long-term highway bill, and up to now, it's been basically short-term patches. We've passed the House version. We've gone to conference. What that means is, and I'm a member of the conference committee, what that means is the House passes their bill, the Senate passes their bill, the two meet, it's called a conference committee, and we reconcile the two bills. Now, the good news is about 2/3 of that bill was pretty well agreed to before the conference even started. That's good news for us because I-555 language and a couple other things that we were able to secure in there were already agreed to in advance, and so that means it's called it's out of scope. That means it's not open for discussion. That's good news. We like that. But despite the fact that it took a longer time for the House and Senate to agree upon their own bills, the conference process actually looks pretty good, and we're moving along pretty smart. In fact, I had a chance to talk to Chairman Schuster to get his take on why this is moving as fast as it is. These conference committees typically take months. Certainly they take weeks. And so I asked him, why do you think we were able to finish this process in just a few days?
Well, I think there's a lot of common ground, obviously, to start with, and there's a call out there across America, Republicans, Democrats, Senate, House, the administration, for the need to have a long-term highway bill. It's something that's important to America, and I think that's really why we're able to move fast on this conference is because of those reasons.
And I certainly thank Chairman Schuster for his comments, and we will keep everyone updated as this highway bill conferencing process continues. And that's pretty much it right now for Tune In. I want you to always keep in mind, though, that we value your feedback, and we encourage you to tweet us your questions at TuneInAR1, at TuneInAR1. Give us your name and your town so we can properly attribute those comments or questions. And thanks so much for joining us again for another Tune In. We'll see you next time.